right, everyone. If we can come to order, we will get started. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. I know it's a beautiful day out there, so it's a bit of a sacrifice to come out, but we appreciate you all making it out this evening. I'd like to, we'll just call it to order with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. If we could have somebody volunteer to do the invocation. Dave?
If you'd all join me in prayer, come to that quiet place within where we know that there's one life, and that life is God, and that life is our life right here and right now. And we give thanks for this wonderful country that we live in. We give our energies to keeping it safe and sound, and the Constitution safe and sound. And we ask and affirm all of these things for our country, for our state, and for our city. Amen.
And if you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we're going to go right into our legislative updates. Just out of respect for our legislators' time, I'd like to put them up at the very front. And our featured speaker tonight is going to be Senator Scott Grow from Legislative District 14. And he just finished his first legislative session. It's kind of an interesting story. He ran for the open seat in the primary in 2018. I think it was a 4 or 5-way primary, 5-way that he came in first. And then before the November election, Senator Marv Hagedorn resigned just a couple months early. So the Legislative District 14 Central Committee had to get together and come up with 3 names to send to the governor to fill out just a couple of months before the session was supposed to start. So Senator Grow got appointed, and so as such, he's got a couple months seniority on any other senator who got elected for the first time in the November election. So that helps us in Ada County. And so now, just having finished the first legislative session, it was, from what I heard, the 3rd longest session in Idaho history. So we're pleased to bring him up tonight to hear about his experience as a freshman, and we'll open it up for Q&A when he's done. So give a warm round of applause to Senator Scott Grow.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. I commend his remarks about you being here tonight on a beautiful evening, and thank you for coming. I know you didn't come because of me, because I just found out this morning that I was coming to speak to you, so we're glad we're all here. Yeah, it's been an interesting session. As Ryan said, the 3rd longest in the history of the state of Idaho. And I recognize Senator Bayer here. I saw Representative Daly. Is he back there still? Yes, in the back. Are there other legislators here? Oh, yes. Dave Van Weerde? Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, close. And anybody else? It's, I'll tell you, the thing that has been remarkable for me, being there in the legislature, is the quality of folks that are serving there. You know, the legislature gets a bad rap. You probably heard on the radio, what are those guys doing out there? They can't ever decide anything. Why did they repeal the grocery tax or this or that and the other? I've been very impressed. We've got, in our Senate, we have a couple of new nuclear scientists and engineers. I mean, some very, very bright people. And it's a privilege and honor to serve there. It's an honor to serve District 14. How many of you are here from District 14? Raise your hand, please. Good, good, good. Appreciate seeing that. Thank you for being here tonight. That's wonderful. Yeah, what happens when you're appointed? Let me tell you a little kind of the inside story on how you're appointed to committees. You might find that interesting. I certainly did. In the Senate, which is a little different from the House, the way that it works, I'll just tell you the Senate side of things. Everything's by seniority. So as Ryan mentioned, the fact that I was appointed gave me a leg up over 6 new senators. Now Senator Bayer is also news. We've got another there. So here's the way it works. The leadership of the Senate gets together, and they have all the different committees, and they list them out on a piece of paper outside the door. And we have the opportunity to recommend, we each can be on 3 committees, and we can recommend the 2 committees we'd like to be on. And so I had talked with Brent Hill, the Senator Pro Tem, beforehand, and expressed my interest. As a CPA, I was hoping to get on the tax committee. I thought, at least there's something I know something about. So as I began, and so I said, what are my chances? He said, 0. I said, okay, what are my chances on JFAC, Joint Finance Appropriation Committee? He said, maybe 50-50. So when my turn came, because we all go in seniority, so when my turn came, I went in and said, okay, I'd like to be on JFAC and education, because education is where 2/3 of the state budget goes. And so Brent said, hey, tax is open. We've got one opening on tax. I said, what would you like? He said, I'd like to have local government and tax. So we have now 2 CPAs. Brent Hill is a CPA, I'm a CPA. We're the only 2 out of 105 legislators. And we have 5 attorneys on our local government and taxation committee. And so between 5 attorneys and 2 CPAs, you start talking tax law. You get into the nitty-gritty of nothingness. As you discuss all of these issues, it's amazing how you can talk about a word here and a word there, and spend a lot of time in it. But long and short of it, I had the privilege of being appointed as the vice chairman of the tax committee before I even attended a meeting. Now, how did that happen? Again, everything's by seniority. So how did that happen? Well, you got the chairman of the tax committee, Jim Rice, Senator Rice. Then you have all of the Senate leadership is there. And then you have a couple of other chairmen. And so I was the next senior guy. Well, I was a little kind of totem pole, but I wasn't a chairman of the committee or anything else, so I got to be the vice chair. Now, what does the vice chair do? It actually has a function. Sometimes vice chairman don't do anything. But in this case, in all committees, the vice chairman of the committee is responsible to chair the committee proceedings as we review the administrative rules from the prior legislative session. But that was interesting for me because I had not been in the prior legislative session, so I wasn't fully aware of all the laws that had been passed that were tax related. But I had to get up to speed on that and look at review all administrative rules and make sure that the rules were consistent with the law that the legislature had passed. So we reviewed those. It took about 4 weeks, and we accepted most of them and rejected a couple. So that was a fascinating experience. I'm also on Judiciary and Rules Committee. That was the 3rd committee to which I was appointed. I'm not an attorney, but that is full of attorneys also. So another very fascinating committee to serve on that. I guess some of I'll just mention a couple of things that I was impacted by. One is talking about victims of rape and victims of sex trafficking. So we get into some uncomfortable kinds of subjects there. But to me, I realized how important that committee is as we deal with very, very sensitive issues with criminal law. And so it was great to learn, because that's a real learning experience for me on that. Now, Joint Finance Appropriation Committee, what on earth are they and what do they do? I know it's a situation where we have 70 representatives in the House, 35 senators, and each of the 2 houses has 10 appointed members to serve on the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee, and from the Senate and from the House. Well, what do we do there? Well, the first several weeks, we heard reports from every committee and every department and every entity in the state of Idaho that wants what? Money. Okay. So they came and they gave us a spiel as to what they were all about and why their particular entity or department was so wonderful and what they're doing. And then they told us how much money they wanted to be appropriated. So after about 5 weeks of that, I asked the chief budget director, I said, because we haven't approved anything. All we did was listen to what they want and review these budgets. How much? $4 billion worth. Okay, that's a lot of money. So I asked the budget director, I said, are we supposed to remember everything that we heard in all those sessions? weeks ago? He said, yes. Fortunately, they give us more write-ups. So then they all come through again and request the money. So first they talk about what they want, then they come back and make a formal request. And so we had the opportunity to review actually more than $4 billion worth, because $4 billion is just our state tax portion of it. The health and welfare is another couple of billion for Medicaid, et cetera. And those are federal dollars, and a lot of federal dollars in education and other things. So when you add it all up, that's another $2 or $3 billion over what we in the state from our own taxes have to pay. So that was an interesting opportunity. What did we do? Again, my interest was in education. Didn't get to serve on the education committee, but I got to serve on an education subcommittee for the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee. So we got into the depths of all of the education budget, what they wanted, et cetera. And that's a lot of money. You talk about 2/3 of $4 billion. One of the issues that the governor wanted was this K through 3 literacy thing. He wanted $13 million for it. And some of the folks on the little subcommittee thought that was too much, which is a lot of money. But the governor was dead set on it. That was one of those, we're going to approve it or you don't go home kind of things. That so could have been longer than the third longest session ever in the history of the state of Idaho. But I spoke in his behalf, because I told this little subcommittee, I said, we don't want to poke the governor in the eye and say, let's cut it down in half or 3/4 or whatever. He's a new governor. He's trying to make his way. This is a big part of his campaign. It's a big part of the state address. So we ended up approving the $13 million. We also approved the 5th and final year of the teacher career ladder. How many of you are familiar with the career ladder system? Very many. Okay. About 5 years ago, the legislature came up with Career Ladder, which was an effort to increase the pay for teachers in the state of Idaho. You've heard many of the stuff on the radio, etc. That we're like 48th or whatever in teacher pay in the nation. And so that was started, and there's about $100 million a year that's been going into the Career Ladder. And so we funded the final portion of that. And we also, another thing the governor wanted was to bring the minimum wage, starting wage for new teachers up to $40,000 a year. And so he wanted that immediately. As the legislature from both sides worked together and ended up, we're doing it over 2 years. Again, we were concerned about funding. Here's a little aside for you on funding. You've probably heard that the income tax withholding tables were under withheld, so we really haven't known for sure how much money we really had. So that makes it tough to spend money you don't even know you have yet. But there are projections as to what that would be. And so we had to look at those projections. One of the issues that I learned, remember the last recession about 10 years ago? And the state of Idaho was able to get through that very well. Our Constitution requires a balanced budget, which we do. By law, have to. And we also have a rainy day fund. So monies are set aside for the down years. So because of that, on that last Great Recession we had, a lot of money had been put into reserves, and that was able to maintain us quite well through that recession. Well, if you look at where we are today in our reserve, if you look percentage-wise, the percentage of where we are today to our total budget of $4 billion, and where the percentage was back then of $3 billion, we're about $170 million short of where we need to be in our rainy day fund. So you think about that. Now, there's some other things that happened along the way. Anybody ever heard of Medicaid expansion? Yes, I maybe have. That was an interesting thing because it was passed by the voters, but there was no mention in the ballot initiative as to what it would cost. I saw the ads like you probably did on television and places talking about the $400 million a year of our money back in Washington, D.C. that is just sitting there and we need to get it. The ads did not talk about, that's the federal portion. It's not really our money, it's you know, we're a federal deficit anyway, $1 trillion a year, but they did not talk in the initiative about what's it gonna cost the average taxpayers, okay? Because we've got to pay 10% of that deal. So if 400 million is the Fed portion, and ours is around 40 million. So we've had to figure out, well, we're going to come up with 40 million in a year when our revenues are really low, having about 75 million under what was projected and hoped for. How do we find another 40 million? Well, fortunately, we only had to fund half this year, just 6 months worth. So we did that with 10 million from the general fund and 10 million from what's called the Millennium Fund, which is a dedicated fund. But I'm concerned about that because now this next time we meet in legislation, we got to go up with 40 million. And I hate to have us use other dedicated set-aside funds and not use the general fund on an ongoing. We've got to pay at least this 40 million a year now forever because it's the law of the state of Idaho. So there's a phrase, you probably heard it, that I heard that there's no end to the good that do-gooders can do with other people's money. Have you ever heard that phrase? Okay, so that was passed, and who wouldn't want to sign a ballot initiative? I mean, the signature. If somebody came around to me and said, hey, you want to help people that are hardworking, poor folks that can't afford insurance? You want to sign and let's do this initiative? Well, it sounds pretty good to me. You'd probably sign. But there's no indication how it's going to cost or what it's going to cost me as a taxpayer. So when that came into being, then we have that little challenge that we have to figure out how to fund that on an ongoing basis. So let me just move to what else? Transportation. District 14, we have 4 key state highways. We have the Highway 55, State Street, runs out here. We've got Eagle Road, Highway 44. We've got Eagle Road, which is State Highway 55. We've got Chin Boulevard, which is Highway 2026. And we have Highway 16 from Emmett that originally was supposed to get out to the freeway, but it's only made it to Chinden Boulevard so far. So I was concerned, what can we do with transportation with my platforms, along with education? And so I voted for every transportation bill that came along. Because I feel you can't postpone. You got maintenance issues, you got new construction issues. If you continue to postpone that, your maintenance gets more expensive for one thing, and the cost of new construction gets more expensive. So I voted for everything that came along. One of the bills that did make it that I voted for was for Chin Boulevard, because the state tax commission, everybody that's moved out the state, as you may or may not know, they bought the Hewlett Packard complex for tens of millions. And so that's going to add some more traffic on Chin. So there was a bill that came through for $150 million of bonding that could be done for Highway 20, for Chin Boulevard, so I voted for that as well. So let's see, is there anything else? Oh, let me just, anybody ever heard of the voter initiative thing that came? Raise your hand, you heard of that one. Yeah, that was an interesting thing because everybody thought the big deal was going to be Medicaid, and that was, which was Medicaid expansion. And we, as both houses voted for that, and we also put in some Medicaid expansion. We put in some requirements regarding working. Again, this was passed as being in behalf of the working poor, so if they're working, I guess some rules about working wouldn't be too offensive. But apparently, it seemed to be, some folks thought that was not very smart. But we felt that Idaho values, and I saw in the little notice that Rand put out, my conservative Idaho values. One of them is hardworking Idahoans. And if people are going to get health insurance, they have to be working. If they can. Now, if they're mentally ill, or they got this or that, or, I mean, there's so many exceptions in there. But if they're eligible and if they're able, they ought to work. I don't think we're in the business of handing out free health insurance. I don't know if your health insurance is free, but mine certainly isn't. And so I think if somebody's going to be getting health insurance, then we ought to be making sure that they're at least doing their part. 20 hours a week is all that's required. But that's something. So on the voter initiative, what was that all about anyway? We just pledged allegiance to the flag here. And we pledge allegiance to what?
The Republic.
To the Republic for which it stands. not the democracy. The U.S. Constitution, nor the Idaho Constitution, I mentioned the word democracy. This is a democracy, but it's a Republican form of democracy, which means we elect representatives. The theory is that those representatives will study out the issues and do what they feel is best in behalf of their own constituents in the state of Idaho. And that's what we try to do. And with the voter initiative, we were concerned about well, some were saying we're trying to take away, they call it the voter revenge. You may have heard that, the voter revenge bill. We weren't trying to get any revenge on anybody. We passed Medicaid. I mean, we paid for Medicaid, we fully funded Medicaid, so there's no revenge in that thing at all. We're looking to the future, trying to avoid states becoming a state like California. Anybody from California moved here? Yeah, thank you. If you did, because those are the people that tended to understand very well what we were trying to do in the voter initiative. If they came from Washington, Oregon, California, or Colorado, they understood what we're trying to do. We're trying to let it continue to be a republic and not have two heads of government. If you have, like California, 16 voter initiatives, one of the voter initiatives was cage-free chickens. Do we want to get into that kind of detail with the voters? I don't think so. But they had a ton of those. And so it makes it a very dysfunctional government when you have two heads. You have an elected legislature, and then you have all the voter initiatives, and then you have to try to fund that and figure out how to pay for everything. So we're trying to avoid that kind of a problem in the future. We're also trying to increase the participation at the grassroots level so that people, right now, in Warrior County, and I recognize that, but I'm a senator for the state of Idaho. Right now, 4 counties can put anything on the ballot. 4 out of 44. So we felt that needed to be a little more diverse than that, particularly when Ada County is so heavily Democrat, as we know. We hardly have any Democratic reps or senators left in Boise, and we lost 2 more reps in District 15, and Fred Martin, our senator, won by like 11 votes on the 3rd recount. So those more liberal kinds of issues tended to be funded. Let me just read a little, very quickly, from the LA Times. This is entitled, How Medicaid Broke Through 3 Deep Red States and Could Do the Same and More. Here's a picture of Luke Mayville. Luke is the head of Reclaim Idaho and the Prop 2 initiative. He is a professor at Columbia University in New York City. Anybody can start an initiative. They don't even have to be a resident of the state of Idaho. And so that's a little bit of an issue. But Luke, in the LA Times article, talks about the model that they're using. He's a Democrat, obviously. The model that they're using to overcome Republican-controlled legislatures, which is mostly here in the Mountain West and other areas. So I'm quoting from the LA Times, November 16th last year. This model relies on state ballot measures to circumvent, to go around, state legislatures and governors' offices dominated in many states by the most conservative wing of the GOP. It taps into popular support for traditionally liberal ideas. And the model brings together local activism with funding and strategic guidance from a national organization founded 3 years ago by a California labor union. It's the Fairness Group. There's a lot of big money that comes in on voter initiatives throughout these states, but particularly in Republican-controlled states. So we were hoping that, I'm not against voter initiatives. In fact, Patty Ann Lodge, who is the chair of our State Affairs Committee, worked on Prop 1. And so we're aware of the work that's involved in that. And if it's a grassroots thing, wonderful. But if it's outside people coming in and bringing outside money and advertising in such a way that they can overwhelm us, because if you think about it, there's generally a lot of money to be spent and to be made on one side of the issue, and no money to be made on the other side of the issue. And so there's very little equal advertising in the community. So that's part of the challenge that we deal with. Goes on to say, well, I'll just leave that, that's enough. Let me just wrap it up, because I see Ryan, he's sneaking up on me. He knows that. I can see him over there, I corner my hat. He's a sneaker. So keep an eye on him. So that was one of the issues of trying to increase voter participation throughout the state of Idaho. We want it to be more transparent and clear. In that ballot initiative 1159 and also 296, we talked about funding. How's this going to be paid for? These were both taxpayer-friendly bills. If you want us to do it, great. Let us know. If you want us to do it, great. Tell us how we're going to pay for it. Because it's so easy for the Democrats, for example, to push liberal agenda items, get them passed with public support, and then ask the Republican legislature to pay for them, and then we start raising taxes, they suppose it are Republicans. That's revenge. Just because we passed that, now they're going to raise our taxes. So we were hoping that we could get the transparency so people would know what it's going to cost them if they're going to be involved in that process. So let me just conclude by saying this. We passed it in the House, in the Senate and the House. And then the governors, some of his folks, thought that maybe it was a little too much, a little bridge too far, and we got to back it up a little. So at their recommendation, we did that, thinking that we were all working together on this deal. And then, lo and behold, what happened? You vetoed it. So we had some very disappointed leadership in the Senate, leadership in the House, a whole bunch of senators and House people that were disappointed with that action. Now, when I met with him, I told him, hey, Governor, I respect you, got to do what you got to do, but I also spent 20 minutes sharing my opinion with him as to why I didn't think it was a wise move to veto it. I mentioned that the manipulation, the intimidation will never end. If you do that, you've just empowered them, letting them know that you can bully a Republican Senate, a Republican House, and a newly elected Republican governor. And I think we have to be careful what we do. I support Governor Little. I helped raise $30,000 for him. I helped move his K through 3, $13 million with the Education Committee. His finance people have been working great with us with the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee. He's doing a fantastic job of hitting the ground running and getting people he had to come up with a $4 billion budget from November to January. How would you like to do that and have it be meaningful? So he's doing a super job in so many areas. We were just disappointed with that one. In his veto message, he said, hey, I agree with everything you're trying to do. It's great and wonderful. But we felt that at this point in time that he would veto. So that's where we are. With that, I'll take any questions that anybody would like to ask or whatever.
Got time for just a couple questions. Does anybody have a question? David.
David DeHaas, District 17. So no one's been willing to really bite the bullet on solving the problem with Medicaid. If I run or drive my car erratically, and if I crash into your cars, my premiums go up.
Yep.
I'm paying more.
Yep.
When it comes to sick people, I run a wellness center, and I turn people around very quickly by getting swimming the body, eating regular food. But no one's willing to go out there and go into the processed food aisles in this state and put taxes on those foods to raise that part of the population that are eating that and causing themselves to be sick and basically extracting money out of the healthy crowd. Will you be the first one to do that, sir?
Probably not. But thank you for the question. I'll tell you, if you want to get beat up, run a bill like the initiative bill. That was the most intense 3 or 4 weeks of my life. Just an example, one Saturday morning I received 653 new emails telling me what a jerk I was. So I've made my initial splash into the water.
Well, then you're seasoned.
I'm saying I'm ready to get beat up some more, I'll tell you, I'm ready. But not right now. Thank you for the question. Yes, sir, back.
You mentioned that you sat and listened to all these agencies come and make proposals. In your experience so far, are those proposals at least reasoned, or is it one of these deals where they shoot for the moon and kind of settle for something in the middle?
Thank you, great question. Did you hear the question? Okay. Question was, listening to all the agencies, if they shoot for the moon or settle for something in the middle, what happens there? Well, first, the governor has his budget, okay? Because he listens to all his department people, so he comes up with his recommendations. And then we have our staff that reviews things, and we begin to look at all of that. And as we do, one thing I've learned is it tends to be, I would love to see zero-based budgeting. Everybody know what that is?
Yeah.
That's where you go back to zero and you start over. But I'm new, so I just listen and learn this year. It's not that way. It's a maintenance budget. And so they basically say, last year we spent X, so this year it should be X plus 3% more to maintain the base. And so that's where those budgets come in. And then they say, and we'd like this new thing and that new thing and this new thing. So primarily we're dealing with the new stuff that they're asking for and trying to keep a handle on that. We didn't always agree with the governor. We made changes, we made reductions, we also made some increases. For example, at the state police, we did some things that hadn't even been asked for, because I believe in law enforcement, we voted for that. So that helped you out. They want a whole bunch of stuff, but they're smart enough to know they aren't going to get it, so they try to prioritize and hope to get some of it. Yes, sir.
Lee Joe Lay, 1614. So I heard about the things you passed and where you granted funding. I'd like to hear about what you cut and who you told no.
We cut some, State Board of Education, for example, was one. Their budget was cut about 2.1%, I think. That doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you're talking about $15 million, it helps. So yeah, we did cut that. There were others that we cut. That particular bill, and the House folks that are here know that thing bounced back and forth. It was the last bill we passed. And I actually presented it on the Senate floor when it finally came over to us. But yeah, there were budgets we decreased as well as increased. We tried to be judicious in every budget we looked at. So it was not a slam dunk, yeah, let's just do a rubber stamp. We did not do that. You got 20 people that are intelligent, that have spent time invested into detail, and we come forth and discuss it.
All right, we're going to call it there. Why don't we give the senator a big round of applause? Thank you, Senator Groh. And like all of our representatives, if you want to get a hold of them, they all have their contact info at the Idaho Legislature's webpage. Okay, we're going to move on now to our fourth item on the agenda, determination of a quorum. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for showing up.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 5, approval of the agenda. Would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Matthew Jensen, 1708, I move that we approve the agenda.
Okay, we have
Morgan, I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. So we'll move on to number 6, approval of minutes. We're approving January's minutes because we didn't have a quorum for the last 2 meetings. Those minutes have been floating out there for a few months now, so Chair would entertain a motion to approve the January minutes.
Sharon Dowdle, precinct 2024, I think it is.
2204?
2204.
Thank you, Sharon. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second. Name and precinct, please.
John Vanita, precinct 15.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes from January, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll go right now to agenda item number 7, the treasurer's report. Is our treasurer still here?
Yep.
There it is.
How's everybody doing? First off, I want to apologize. Last couple meetings I've missed. It's been a little hectic couple of months in Colin's house. I did notice there's a couple of new name placards back here, so we got our work cut out for us coming up. In our savings account, we have $1,114.36. Checking account has $12,848. We do have an outstanding liability right now, $330 insurance premium payment is coming due. Stand for any questions.
How far are we arrears on our state party dues?
I can get back to you on that one.
Oh, just
Sure.
next meeting.
We haven't made a payment since, I believe, December or November.
Or is it the last, Central States?
Yeah.
I'll just come up with numbers next meeting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, we're going to move on to number 8, appointment of precinct committeeman alternates. So every precinct committeeman can appoint an alternate and vote for them when they're not here. Now, our rules don't say that the alternate has to be here to be appointed. The qualifications, though, are alternates shall be qualified electors and residents of the precinct in which they serve, and alternates shall be nominated by the committee man of the precinct in which they reside and confirmed by the county central committee. So it doesn't say that the alternate has to be present to be nominated. So if you have somebody you want to nominate who's not here, then we're going to allow them under the rules. So is there any appointment of precinct committeeman alternates? Okay. That's right. So we also have entertained the precinct committeeman submitting nominations by email to the chair and the secretary. So we have nomination for, state your precinct committeeman and your precinct number and your name.
I'm Michael Tomlin at 1409, which is Lexington Hills and Eagle, and alternate to John Zarian.
Okay, and we had received that a couple months ago, just waiting for the quorum. I would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Tomlin as alternate for John Zarian in 1409.
So moved.
Name and
Please be kind to the secretary.
I seconded Julia Morgan, 2115.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Would you like to just say a couple words about yourself before we take a vote?
Well, pleased to be here, lifelong Republican, Army veteran. I'm currently a writer. I run a subscription-based private leadership development website based upon a book and university professor. We moved to Idaho in 1992. We sneaked past the border patrol into Idaho because we came from Wyoming.
Well, thanks for coming.
This man's a liar. Nobody lives there.
All right, all in favor of appointing Michael Tomlin as the alternate for 1409, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
please come see me.
And before you leave, please make sure you see the secretary so we can get all of your contact info and just confirm it. All right, is there any other alternates to be introduced tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to number 9, introduction of candidates for vacant precincts. Do we have anyone to be introduced to a vacant precinct who has not previously been introduced? This will be first time introductions to vacant precincts. Megan?
I'd like to introduce Karen Farnsworth for the vacant precinct 1811.
And this is the first introduction?
I believe so.
Okay. And is she here tonight?
She's here tonight.
Excellent. All right, we have an introduction. Would you like to just say a word?
Sure. Do you want me to say the word or her to say the word?
Why don't you, since you're the one introduced?
I've known Karen for about the last 10 years. She has been in her district for 40 years out in our southeast Boise end of town. She's committed to principles of liberty, Constitution, and in general I'm grateful that she has accepted my invitation to fill our vacant seat, and I'm looking forward to working with her. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And we have confirmation 1811 is currently vacant, yes? All right. Do we have a second? For the
Order
nomination?
2103, second.
Thank you, Bonnie. Is there anyone else to be introduced for precinct 1811? All right, so actually I don't think we need a motion on that. This is the first introduction. If you come to the second meeting, then that is when we will take up your appointment or election as long as we have a quorum. So make sure you're here in the May meeting and we will get you confirmed. All right, thank you. All right, is there any other introductions for vacant precincts where no one's been introduced as of yet? John.
Yes, I would like to introduce Paul McKay for the vacant precinct of the 1914.
He's already introduced.
Who's already introduced. Okay, that's the next agenda. Okay, anyone who's not previously been introduced yet? We only have a few open precincts, so it's tough. Okay, moving on to the next item, election of candidates for precinct committeemen who've been previously introduced. So if you were introduced at a previous meeting, it doesn't have to be the last meeting, but any previous meeting, we will take that up now. John?
Oh.
Now's the time.
Okay. All right, well, I guess I spoke a bit too early. I would like to introduce Paul McKay as a candidate for the vacant precinct of 1914. I have gotten to know Paul over the legislative session while I was in FHA. He's a pretty motivated guy. He's a political consultant who's helped out with a wide variety of issues, and he's also helped out the Republican Party at times. So I'd like you to consider him for this position.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you, Tom. All right, we have a motion and a second. Paul, are you here? If you'd like to stand up, just reintroduce yourself. It was a few months ago when we first introduced you.
Yeah, so Paul McKay, again, various different positions. I worked on a lot of issues that have run through the office as well. I'd like to do something recent.
All right, thank you, Paul. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of appointing Paul McKay to the vacant precinct in 1914, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Welcome aboard, Paul. Yes, question.
So, because this is only my third meeting and I'm an alternate, and I know that the committee man has moved out of our precinct, what do I need to do anything or go through a process to become the committee man for?
Yes, so it's a good question. You don't automatically become the PC if your PC moves, if you're the alternate under our rules. It's still the same process as where we would send out a notice that the precinct is vacant. So I will contact Don and have him send an email to myself or the secretary, just formally announcing that he's moved out of the precinct. And then yourself can be introduced to fill his seat at the next meeting. Of course, anyone in precinct 2204 can technically run for that seat at the next meeting. So if there's more than one person who is introduced at the next meeting, it would be a secret ballot on the subsequent meeting. So you have to be introduced by any precinct committeeman to be appointed to the vacancy. Just trying to make a couple friends before next month.
So this was done at a January meeting, and so I haven't received any word or anything about how to do this, and so can I get an email or something explaining that?
Sure. We'll make sure that we get you updated this time.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other introductions for?
Mr. Chairman, do we actually have her contact info just so that it doesn't get lost in the mix this time?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Any other election candidates for precinct committeemen who have been previously introduced? If we had any others over the last few months. Okay, with that, we will move on to the next agenda item, number 11, old business. 2019 Western Idaho Fair, we managed to secure our same spot as we've historically been at. So, yeah, once again, we're going to be looking for the district chairs to each take one day of the fair and get precinct committeemen and other volunteers from your district to staff the booth during the fair. We've also kind of discussed getting a new backdrop. The one we have now is a trade show booth, but it doesn't work well. It's sort of two trade show booths that are butted together. There's like a big bump in the middle, and it's really hard to keep the signs on there. So we're going to investigate maybe have something a little simpler that signs will stick to, that's not so elaborate to put together. It's one of these things that's supposed to snap all together with magnets, but they're kind of worn out. So we have to just put electrical tape on every single seam last time. It's kind of a nightmare. So we're going to hopefully look into something a little more simple. Not offhand. Obviously, they're going to be
1 sec, I'll look for it.
August 16th through the 25th.
16th through the 25th. David?
Can we get something non-controversial this year, like maybe a Chuck Schumer punching bag?
Well, interesting you said that. So I did find out that we are actually allowed to sell stuff at the booth. Historically, we never really have. And I think there used to be a difference between commercial booths and non-commercial booths, and the non-commercial booths were cheaper. But I talked to the fair personnel, and they said there's no distinction. So we're paying the same price as a commercial booth. And so we are talking about having all kinds of Trump stuff there for sale, potential, stickers, buttons, bumper stickers, shirts, hats, all that kind of stuff, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I think it's a good opportunity to make a little extra money at the fair. Probably just have to get a sales tax number and get sales tax. Other than that, I think we're good to go. So any more questions on the fair? Gary?
Is there can we have like a key person for press and interviews? Seems like there was a lot of maybe oversharing and topics that should have been.
That's a good point.
Someone else.
We could probably designate somebody to be the official media contact if that need arises again. Hopefully it won't this time. Any other questions on the fair? Okay. Moving on to...
we are going to be selling Trump stuff, though?
Yeah.
Because people were really asking for it.
Yeah. We had free Trump stickers last time. They were very popular. Okay, old business, item B, yearly dues to the state party with the State Central Committee meeting coming up in summer. It's going to be in Boise. It's not normally in Boise in the summer, but we're going to be having a special election for a new state chairman. But that's a good point to talk about possibly paying some dues to the state party. Ada County never really fulfills our quota of dues every year to the state party. It's about, I think it's 40,000 every 2 years, and we historically generally don't get too close to that. So we are looking at how we're giving some money to the state party, possibly in the realm of between $2,000 to $3,000, possibly more. But it's up to the committee to decide what kind of dues should be sent out. Usually it's the executive committee that reviews that and gives a proposal, which we may do that at our next executive committee meeting, review our finances, make a recommendation to the central committee. Edward.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Edward Dindinger, 1711. Just out of curiosity, how is our supposed quota of dues calculated, and what do we get in return? I mean, normally when I pay dues to an organization, I get a magazine I can put on my coffee table and never read. So what are we getting from the state party in return for these dues?
So each county that pays dues, those dues go to fund the state party office, to pay for the state executive director and a couple of staff people. Usually during the election season, there's maybe a couple extra staff people there. Basically it funds the state party, funds the state convention, generally stuff like that.
Is there still...
calculation method?
Well, it's based on population, so it's specified in the state party rules, but it's generally based on population, so the bigger counties are obligated to pay more.
Isn't there still like a subcommittee at the state level on this very subject going on at these meetings?
I know that was addressed, but I don't know if they're still meeting on that at the moment.
I'll get back with him on that. You might want to see.
What again is our annual number that we owe?
It's 40 either every 2 years, every cycle, or every year. Is it a year or 2
I
years?
believe it's every year.
Okay. Julia?
Is it population or registered GOP voters? Which was the fair assessment?
I haven't reviewed the state rules recently, so it's not in my head. But whether it's registered or population, any county's obviously going to have a big chunk. Dave?
I think it also has to do with number of votes that the biggest vote getter gets, and that always seems to be Brandon Wolf.
No.
Runs on votes.
Yeah. So if you do want to read the calculation, it's in the state party rules, which is available on the state party website, and it's one of these, the highest vote getter in the even year election, that forms the percentage based, so since Brandon, the state controller is usually contested, he gets a high percentage of votes in the county, and, it's,
Can we move him to Bonner County?
All right, any other questions about the fair, or about the yearly dues to the state party? I think, Megan?
When was the last time we actually paid it, like in full?
I don't think we ever have, and as we've discussed before, one of the reasons is because the Ada County party generally has to run its own Lincoln Day fundraiser, and all the other counties run a Lincoln Day fundraiser to pay the dues. Of course, their share is much lower. So that's, one of the things we've struggled with is figuring out how. But since we did so good at the last two fundraisers, we've had a little bit of money extra to go to those dues. Okay, Megan, why don't you come up? We'll move to number C, volunteers needed for fundraising events. We did our big election events last year. We are looking at doing something in the fall. And so I know it's the even year election, but we are hoping to find some volunteers. So let me bring in Megan Lyman, our District 18 chair, to talk to you about it.
So it is kind of a nightmare to try to bring cohesion within our party and within the greater Republican population here in our county to get enough funding. Like you said, $40,000 every year. After the last fundraiser, I think it was Vicki McIntyre said that we had the most in our bank account that she'd ever seen after our last fundraiser. And I think we had $14,000 in the bank account, which is not even close to $40,000, as you know. So some of my thoughts are that we need to have multiple streams coming in, not just one thing every year, every 2 years, like the big banquet that we've done in the past. But we will be doing a big banquet. We're working right now on getting things set up for November. Part of the problem is we just only have so much energy and so much free time to pour into this. As you know, we have families, we have jobs, we have, life as well. So if you're interested or you have anything you could contribute, we're looking for somebody to run again a dessert silent auction table, somebody to run again the raffle like we had before, and then we'll be doing, of course, the big banquet with the speaker this fall. Other ideas I've had are to sell some of the spider. We've been talking with Ryan about that for the last few months. It's a really great opportunity. There's several different companies that you can purchase from. You have to wait for it to come from China, of course, and it takes about 6 to 8 weeks, so we didn't get it in time for the last banquet. Like I was hoping, so we didn't have the time, but we're hoping to be able to do that. It's a really great profit margin if we have the time. And we can sell at the fair. That's a really new development that we're excited about. Also things like you'll probably be seeing in the next meeting or two that we'll be trying to get some of us as precinct committee people on a monthly donation setup that we can do, 10, 20, how much do you pay for your Netflix, right? If all of us here donated $10, $20 a month on a regular recurring basis, it's not that much out of our pocketbooks, but it really would add up and make a difference, especially if we could get that different separate stream of income. So if you can't think about that, you can currently on our website sign up for that monthly recurring donation, and there'll definitely be more information coming in the future as we get more organized about that. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking for some people who can help me with the sign-up dessert auction for our fall fundraiser. Raffle, if you have things you can donate or can help us with that, would be great. You can contact me. I am the chair for Legislative District 18. I believe my information is out there. Where would they find my information?
EdenCountyGOP.org.
EdenCountyGOP.org. You can look me up, or you can talk to me after this meeting, give me your information. I know some of you already have, and that's awesome. We're going to be getting that going as soon as we get our executive meeting next, and we'll be getting organized about that. Are there any questions about fundraising? Does anybody have any questions?
Would you be willing to put something on our GOP website so that people, and we can let people know that they can order things straight from the website?
That's a thought. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what kind of man hours that would require to monitor that. Because then we'd have to probably maybe ship it or something like that. But I know one of my ideas has been that if we just had a steady inventory of things that we could sell, like we talked about Make America Great hats or t-shirts or stickers or like little necklaces with like the Idaho emblem on it or something like that, that we could just always have it at our monthly meetings at the back of the room, which might encourage more people to come. Or it's easier to donate, if you get a little trinket because you gave us $10, $15, so some people like that. So I'm open to other ideas if you have other ideas for income streams for us. We've talked maybe about doing a summer family thing, because the banquets that we do tend to be only, more like grown-up events. Nobody's gonna bring their little kids unless they have no other choice, because it's not very fun for them. But we've talked about maybe like renting out municipal parking gates and bounce houses and having a big family thing, and also piggybacking on trying to get new recruits in, some of the younger people involved in a new enrollment kind of a thing, getting more people registered, more active, and more informed about what's happening with their grassroots stuff. So those are some of our ideas. If you're interested in any of that, if you have any other ideas, or any time or energy you'd like to push on that, that's what makes our party work, is the money. When we want to have local candidates in our grassroots backyard precincts that actually we'd like to represent us and that have a good track record we think would represent us well, then they need some money, and we can give it to them if we have money. So this is kind of the backbone, and I'm really hoping we'll get some more people informed and volunteering. So thank you very much. I look forward to talking to some of you.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. And so we have some developments out of Legislative District 21. It's been an interesting year for District 21. As you might remember, Senator Cliff Bayer resigned his seat early to become Congressman Russ Fulcher's Chief of Staff in D.C. And District 21 had a special meeting of the precinct committeemen and appointed a new senator, Virginia Bayer, who's also an alternate here tonight. Well, it's looking like there may be another vacancy in District 21, and we have our still serving representative here tonight, Representative Tom Daly, so we wanted to bring him up and have him address you possibly the last time as a representative. So come on up, Representative Tom Daly.
Thank you, yes, I just, as you who have read the newspapers, it was announced in the newspaper, but kind of prematurely because I didn't have official word from the White House. I did get that from this week, so my formal date for taking the new job, which is in the Trump administration, is the State Executive Director of the Farm Service Agency in the state of Idaho. That will be on Monday, so I will be formally resigning this week, sending my letter to the governor, formally resigning, and that will initiate the process that Ryan just described in District 21. Bill, our district chair, is out of town until Friday, so he will be making that announcement probably for next week. Your district precinct committee members, so those of you in District 21, circulate that. I know we have a lot of very good, strong candidates that can serve in the legislature, and so any of those we would like to have in our district, come to our district meeting, get a district precinct committeeman to nominate them and second them, and then as precinct committeeman we will choose who the three candidates to give to the governor that will then choose somebody to replace me. So that's the process. I would like to thank all of you, Republican Party in Ada County, because you have been a help to all of us in the legislature. We appreciate that because it's the precinct committeemen who do the work on the ground, knock on doors, hand out flyers, all of those things that are important to us as we function in the legislature. And then the other part that's important, as Senator Grohl mentioned, we also in the legislature, and those of you who have participated, and we have the luxury of being in the county that is where the legislature meets, which is a gigantic opportunity beyond what most of the people in the state of Idaho have. They have to travel long distances to come to the legislature to participate. We don't, and it's really important for your legislators, us, to have that input from you. As Senator Grohl said, we had that whole initiative process, we had Medicaid expansion, we had some really critical issues in the legislature this year. And it really is important to have you, the citizens, come difficult for us when we have a committee hearing room full of 100 people and only 2 of them say what we genuinely believe is what the people of our district or the people of the state of Idaho believe on an issue. And that's what the press is going to report. That's what the public is going to, the impression they're going to be given is that we are making decisions that are beyond what the people of Idaho really believe or think. So we really do need you coming, and again, Ada County, because we are so close to the legislature when we're meeting. Stay tuned, watch, and you can even actually listen if you don't have anything else to do. You can actually listen to the debate in committee, on the floor. You can look at the legislative calendar. You can see these issues that are going to be up there for discussion. It really is important for you to participate because, like I said, it's very frustrating. And having served as a committee chairman this last year, it's really difficult to see on an issue that's so important to us that we have, like I said, 2 days of hearing. I had 2 days of hearing on an issue, and we had like 3 or 4 people that came and commented on one side, and 150 people commented on the other side. So it really is important to stay tuned, participate. So again, those in District 21, show up to the meeting that's going to be announced probably by Bill when he comes back into town, so that we can have a good, strong candidate in the legislature next year to help Senator Brewer and the others do their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Daley. We have a couple other new business items that didn't make it onto the agenda. Ada County Republican Women. Suzanne, would you like to come up and talk about what the Women's Club has coming up?
Okay, thank you. Right. I made pass around this piece of paper. If you know of anyone who would like a scholarship, we have a $500 scholarship. Maybe we'll do 2. We haven't decided yet, depends upon how many applications we get for which we will get at our Silver Tea, which is in May. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But anyway, I want to pass it around. So if you know of anyone, you can put their name in there. You can take the information off the top. You can contact that site, and you can take an application off that website. Or you can put the name on here and their email address, and we'll see that they get a application. So I want to do that.
What's the scholarship
I'll tell you in a minute. It's a college scholarship, yeah. It's a college scholarship, and anybody is eligible who lives in Ada County and is a student and is a female.
Do they have to write an essay? Or?
No, actually, on the application, they have to write an essay. And the thing is that we're looking for women who are young girls who have been involved in politics, maybe stuffed the envelopes or whatever, or gone out and passed them out, even the door hangers. Anything where they somewhat participated. We contacted young women who were maybe going to Girls State, thinking that they would be a good opportunity there. And they come back and they say, well, they don't believe in Republican principles. Those we contacted. So that's why I thought this would be a good place to maybe contact some people who might know someone who knows someone who there's a young person out there who believes in the principles which we back, and that they would be able to participate. You have to do it soon because we need about the 5th, because our Silver Tea, which is coming up, is on the 11th, which is when we will be giving it out scholarship. And I thought I would mention that briefly. Is we are having a Silver Tea on the 25th. Anyone's invited. Women, we're wearing hats. We're asking, it's the day before Mother's Day, so we're asking mothers to bring their daughters perhaps, and we'll have a speaker who will be motivating, and we'll pass out the scholarship. So anyway, and that is at the Backstage Bistro at the Village on the 11th. And the tickets, you can go online, which is, again, I wrote it down. It's AdaRepublicanWomen.com. There was another site, and I got on that one, and that's not the one you want. So it has to be AdaRepublicanWomen.com to get any information about our activities. And this summer, we're having a picnic on June 20th, which will, I'll give you the information so that you have the address, which will be at Emily Farr's house again. We're furnishing hamburgers and hot dogs, and then participants who are from the club who are coming are going to bring desserts and side dishes, and we were inviting all you members to come and bring refreshments like pop, you know, 6-pack, a big 12-pack pop or something, so that we can have, we're going to have water, or juice, you want to, yeah, I was going to say, put a tax on it, but we will have water, otherwise we're just serving water. And also, we won't have any like wine or anything, it's kind of a BYOB thing. So, okay, and that's all I have to say. And I will give this to you so that you have the information you can put on the whatever. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Susanna. All right, we'll make sure you get an email so you know date, time for the picnic and what they're hoping that you bring. Okay, we have another item. Boise State College Republicans has a very interesting event going on, I think, tomorrow. Ben, would you like to come up and just kind of prep everybody and invite them on down? And share it to the Boise State College Republicans.
I'm actually a graduate. I was the former chair of the BSUCR, so, but I'm still a member. It's cool. I was donated to them before BSU. Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know we're having an event tomorrow. It's Ending the Forever Wars, a conversation at Boise State, and we're doing it with the Young Democrats. We're trying to be civil. They were never civil to us. If you watched the debate last year, you guys would see that firsthand. Yeah, we're having a bipartisan meeting to discuss the ending of the forever wars and bringing our troops home with guest speakers, Army veteran Dan McKnight and Idaho Representative Tammy Nichols, who I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. There's free pizza, so we don't have much of a budget, but we can do that. So, come on out, support us. We definitely need it. We're trying to grow, and this is a great opportunity, and we're trying to cross the aisle as usual. So.
What time and where?
You guys probably want to know that. So, I'm so sorry. 6 to 7 p.m. in the Burkhurst Room, located on the second floor of the Student Union Building. So, pretty straightforward. And there should be enough seats for everybody in here. So, yeah. Hope to see you guys there. So, yeah. Anything else?
Thank you. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to. Well, just recognizing any other legislators or elected officials who managed to make it out tonight. If you'd just like to stand and be raised, maybe starting in the back.
Representative Vanderbilt, District 22.
Thank you, Representative.
Senator
Phil McGrain, thank you.
Senator Regina Bayer, District 21.
Thank you, Senator.
Bob Brady, County Assessor.
Thank you, Bob. Give him a round of applause for being here tonight. All right. Somebody steal my paper? I had some notes on there. Okay, I think we are pretty much there. Is there any, so we do it, again, the announcements of the State Summer Central Committee meeting happening June 26th, I think.
Confirmed with Chairman Locke to be June 28 and 29.
Okay. And that's open to all Republicans, although you have to be a State Central Committee member to vote. But that'll be a great meeting because they're planning on trying to do a big fundraising lunch with a big guest speaker. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Where's it go?
I think it's going to be at the Grove.
Yeah, Chairman Locke said the Grove last time.
Yeah, I think Riverside was booked. It's normally at the Riverside. Any other announcements?
June 28 and 29, the Friday and Saturday. It's on, starting the weekend.
Yeah, you can usually expect, some, Congress people or senators or governor or lieutenant governor to come speak as well. So good just to come check out.
last time Russ Fulcher was sworn in there.
Lee?
Yeah, just 3 seconds on my soapbox again. If you're not thinking about running for city council, they're still down there. They
Do
still
it.
need to be overrun. So, somebody, if you know anybody, are we ready? Can we get them? Let's stand up, do it.
You don't want me to.
Yeah, and the worst thing that could happen is that I fill it out and I become the
Thank you, Lee. And also, right now, there's a petition drive going on for to get a vote on the library and some other big projects. Dave, would you like to come up? He has brought petitions tonight, so we can all sign them if, I'm going to sign it. Dave, why don't you tell us all about it?
Thanks, Ryan. This follows on really well with the comment about the city. You've all seen the signs around that say stadium ? Library ? Boise, let's vote. And that's what this petition is about. And it doesn't matter, those of us who are involved in this, I'll tell you where I stand. We're not necessarily saying whether you're for or against these things, it's just that a petition that we should be able to vote on them. And I'd like to comment about the Boise City, especially regarding the stadium, because you may remember that the first location for the stadium was in the old Kmart site on Americana. I don't know if you all know how the urban renewal works, and I must say that in 1966 I was involved with, in fact I was the coordinator of the publication for the first downtown redevelopment guide, and out of that came the creation of the Boise Redevelopment Agency, which is the Urban Renewal Agency, now known as CCDC, Central City Development Corporation. I'm sorry that I was there, but
that's your sense, son.
Yeah. Anyway, what's happened now is, if you remember that site, and if you start at the corner of the river and Americana, and travel east to Capitol Boulevard, north to River Street, and back again west to Americana, what the Urban Renewal Agency has to determine in order to create an urban renewal district is that the area is in decline or debilitated. It must be a terrible area that needs to be renewed. And so if you think that that area defined with all of those wonderful office buildings along the river and so forth is declining, it's just the opposite. But so anyway, that got shot down, and now they've moved and want to build it at the site between Main and Fairview and Whitewater and 27th. The problem is that Boise City Council members are also the members of the board of directors of the CCDC. So there's no balance, there's no offsetting balance, and so that's why a citizens initiative petition is a very good idea. The other thing that's involved is the tax increment financing. And the way that works is that they take, like if we were to take that Americana site, they'll take the assessed valuation of the property as it is now. And then once the project is finished, it's assumed that the assessed valuation will be much higher. Well, all of the tax revenues above the base to the new evaluation, all of those tax revenues go to CCDC to pay off the bonds that they have the ability to create to do these projects. The problem with it is that it doesn't provide anything for infrastructure, for fire, for police, for schools, for all of the things that your taxes go for. So that any increase in those things comes back to us, the taxpayers. You have to pay it. So that's the pitch for the stadium petition. The other petition is for the library. And being an architect, I have to say that Moshe Safdie's plan is exciting and all of that. But 85 million for a new library is a questionable situation. Jackie had a comment, why don't we spend money on neighborhood libraries and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, these petitions, there's one each, one for the stadium and one for the library. And you have to live in Boise City and be a registered voter. So I'll stick around, and anybody who meets those classifications and wants to sign, boy, we're looking for you. Yes?
So, does your petition allow for those of us that pay through the nose of the property taxes in the city but live in the county get to vote?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get.
Does your petition allow those of us, I'm sort of tongue in cheek here, but making a point, does your petition allow those of us that pay through the nose and city taxes but live in the county get a chance to have a say in the disposition of our money?
You should indeed, but not in this petition. Sorry. Oh, and we need 5,000 signatures. We're awfully close. I'd like to see us have 10, so we send a real message to Boise City. Yes?
Just to counterpoint to that comment, which I think is, if you really stop and think about it, that's a little bit ridiculous. I own property in Oregon, I own property in New Mexico. I pay taxes on that property, and since I don't live on that property, I don't get a homeowner exception. You think Valencia County in New Mexico or Astoria, Oregon is going to let me vote in their elections? No. No more than if somebody lives in California and owns a business property in Boise. They're not residents.
All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. And unfortunately, I can't sign it because I'm a resident of Garden City. Otherwise, I absolutely would. All right. Do we have any other announcements before we adjourn?
Okay, all you District 17 people, I know I saw one leave, shame on him. We have a meeting on Thursday about some items having to do with the State Center Committee meeting. We definitely need some business to hash out because it was only by the mercy of the state party that we even got to do anything last time as District 17. So please, show up.
Okay, District 17 meeting. Any other announcements before we adjourn?
When is the meeting?
Oh, District 17 meeting is Thursday at 7 p.m.
Living Waters. 855
And you had better show up.
Check your emails.
I emailed you twice, I think.
All right, any other announcements? All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Steve?
1801, we adjourn.
We have a second?
Cameron Sullivan, Watson, 1401, I second.
Good to see you, Tammy. All right, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.